When I did decide to turn pro, I received a letter from Arthur Ashe. He says, frankly, I believe you were crazy to turn professional at your stage of development. You are now, for the next 18 months or so, every mother's son. Young, cute, well-behaved, shy, innocent, and Chinese American. You have the perfect image for an American success story to be placed in the media at the right times. But don't tell me you don't feel a lot of pressure because Reebok wants you to win, not just look cute. You are a good player, no one is doubting that. Many of your opponents will be nervous for the first 12 to 15 months. My guess is that your ranking may shoot up to the top 70s or so. But then next year, your ranking will then probably drop until you consolidate your game and find your true level. Meanwhile, you will have lost more matches in any given period of time than in any past period of your tennis life.
Did Michael Chang truly outsmart tennis legend Ivan Lendl in one of the most controversial matches of all time? Or did he cross the line into what some might call psychological trickery? In the 1989 French Open, a scrawny 17-year-old kid facing unbearable cramps somehow turned desperation into brilliance. While barely able to stand, he began taking exaggerated sips from his water bottle, stretching time, resetting his nerves, and driving his opponent mad with confusion. What followed has become the stuff of tennis mythology, the audacious, almost disrespectful underarm serve that left Lendl frozen and the crowd gasping. An act that many hailed as tactical genius, while others condemned as a cheap stunt unbecoming of a champion. But what few realize is that this infamous water bottle trick wasn't just a moment of youthful mischief. It was the beginning of a mindset that would define Chang's entire career, a blend of mental warfare, discipline, and quiet rebellion that he still carries decades later. And as strange as it sounds, that same mindset might just be fueling a comeback no one saw coming. The 1989 French Open fourth-round match between Michael Chang and Ivan Lendl remains one of tennis's most talked-about moments, renowned not only for the stunning upset, but for the sheer theatrical madness on the court. Only 17 years old and barely out of high school, Chang faced the world number one, a three-time French Open champion known for his ruthless power and unshakable composure. Initially, Lendl dominated, but as the match wore on, Chang's body started to betray him. His legs began to cramp severely, leaving him barely able to move. While most players would have retired, Chang refused to quit. Instead, he started a strange, drawn-out ritual. After every rally, he would slowly walk back to the baseline, taking long, deliberate sips from his water bottle while staring across the net. Commentators later dubbed this the water bottle trick, a subtle psychological maneuver that bought him time to recover, frustrated Lendl, and allowed the exhausted teenager to control the match's tempo. As the cramps continued, Chang deployed a brilliant strategic shift. He began hitting high, looping moonballs, deliberately disrupting Lendl's powerful baseline rhythm. This unconventional slow pace the veteran to generate his own power, testing his patience and dragging out the rallies. By the fifth set, with the score tight and his mobility severely limited, Chang pulled off his most shocking move, a deliberate underarm serve. The unexpected soft serve completely caught Lendl off guard, prompting a gasp and then an eruption from the crowd. It was more than a sneaky shot. It was a defiant declaration, a complete breaking of tennis convention that became a symbol of Chang's sheer nerve and ingenuity when his body had nothing left to give. When Lendl's final shot sailed long, Chang completed one of the greatest upsets in Grand Slam history. Though reporters asked if the underarm serve was planned, to which he shyly replied, "I was just trying to survive," the match proved that victory is not solely about strength or stamina. Chang won by using his mind when his body gave up, redefining how to fight, endure, and win when cornered. The victory solidified his reputation as a brilliant strategist who saw tennis as mental chess. The victory over Ivan Lendl was far more than an upset. It was the catalyst that transformed Michael Chang from a promising junior into a global phenomenon. The tennis world, still reeling from the sheer audacity of the Lendl match, watched in amazement as the 17-year-old, fueled by sheer adrenaline and the mental belief he'd earned, defeated Ronald Agenor and Andrei Chesnokov to reach the final. Chang capped his impossible run by defeating former world number 1 Stefan Edberg in a nerve-wracking 5-set final, cementing one of the greatest underdog tales in sports history. At 17 years and 110 days old, Chang became the youngest male Grand Slam singles champion ever, a record that remains unbroken today. This triumph was validation that his unique game, built on sheer hustle, counterpunching, and an almost psychic ability to retrieve seemingly impossible shots, could conquer the baseline power of his contemporaries. His style was defined by unshakable mental fortitude. Chang became the poster child for never giving up. Opponents quickly learned that winning a point against him often required hitting an extra 2 or 3 winners. Tactical brilliance. He compensated for his lack of size and raw power with an astute cerebral approach. He expertly used the moonball to disrupt the rhythm of power players, forcing them out of their comfort zones and making them question their strategy. The French Open title propelled him into a decade of elite tennis. He became a fixture in the ATP top tier, eventually reaching a career-high world number 2 ranking in 1996. He reached 3 additional major finals in the mid-90s, the 1995 French Open and the 1996 Australian and U.S. Opens, demonstrating that his Grand Slam win was not a fluke, but the launch of a legendary career defined by fierce dedication and revolutionary tactical thinking. But every rise has a fall, and as the sport began to prioritize size and serve speed, Chang's came sooner than most expected. As the sport entered the late 1990s and the new millennium, the tennis landscape fundamentally changed. The rise of new generations, typified by players like Pete Sampras, Andre Agassi, and later Marat Safin, ushered in an era of power tennis. These athletes wielded immense serves, heavy topspin, and racket technology that rewarded raw strength and height. Chang, at 5'9", and relying primarily on his incredible defense, counter-punching, and tactical acumen, found his signature style increasingly marginalized. His greatest assets, endurance and court coverage, were gradually overwhelmed by the sheer force and velocity coming from across the net. Though he made tactical adjustments, even briefly experimenting with an extended-length racket, he struggled to transition into a truly aggressive power player. The inevitable toll of his relentless, grinded-out career also began to manifest. By the late 90s, the years of pushing his small frame to its physical limits led to injuries and fatigue, specifically issues with his wrist and knees in 1998, which hampered his comeback efforts. His streak of winning at least one ATP title every year ended in 1999, a clear sign of his slipping dominance. He spent his final years, from 2000 to 2003, battling in the lower tiers of the tour, often playing challenger events, a humbling reality for a former world number 2 and Grand Slam champion. He was driven, in part, by his Christian faith, feeling compelled to finish his career with dignity and use his platform. However, the spark of his prime was gone. Chang officially retired in 2003, walking off the court after a final U.S. Open appearance to a standing ovation. Yet with little of the mainstream fanfare, his victory 14 years prior had generated. For a time, he seemed to disappear from the public eye, focusing on family and business ventures, leaving many to wonder if the 17-year-old champion would remain nothing more than a spectacular footnote in tennis history. But this quiet fade-out was merely the prelude to an unexpected return. This time, his comeback wasn't on the court. At least, not in the way you'd expect. After his quiet retirement in 2003, Michael Chang disappeared from the competitive courts, but he never truly left tennis. His hiatus proved to be a necessary period of reflection before his next, and arguably most impactful act, Reinvention as a high-level coach and mentor. Chang's return to the spotlight was not as a player, but as the guiding voice for a new generation of professionals. His major coaching breakthrough came in 2014 when he began coaching the Japanese star Kei Nishikori. This partnership immediately generated significant interest and success. Chang's infusion of his signature mental toughness and aggressive defensive strategy helped Nishikori break crucial barriers, most notably leading him to the 2014 U.S. Open final. This achievement made Nishikori the first Asian male player in history to reach a Grand Slam singles final, marking a powerful statement about the enduring value of Chang's philosophy. Chang's methodology as a coach is a direct projection of the tactical intelligence and competitive fire that defined his playing career. He doesn't merely focus on technical adjustments. Instead, he emphasizes mental resilience, training players to embrace and thrive in the face of physical distress and high-pressure moments, a skill he mastered while cramping in Paris decades earlier. He also teaches court chess, instilling the value of strategic variation, the tactical moonball, the short slice, the timely net rush to constantly disrupt and frustrate the baseline power inherent in modern tennis. Beyond his headline-grabbing work with Nishikori, Chang has continued to influence young talent. More recently, in 2024, he started working with young American prospect Lerner Tien, who has publicly credited Chang with fundamentally improving his approach. Tien's praise centered on how Chang's decades-old wisdom about battling for every single point, regardless of the score, remains the most essential and valuable lesson in the game. By stepping behind the scenes, Chang found a profound new way to compete, projecting his legendary never-say-die attitude and deep strategic insight through his pupils. His success in this new role proved that his primary weapon was never his forehand or foot speed, but his extraordinary mind. But this resurgence also stirred a new kind of controversy, revealing that Chang's hard-won, old-school mindset sometimes clashes fiercely with the luxurious realities of modern professional tennis. Chang's successful transition to coaching was not entirely seamless. His return to the high-stakes professional circuit brought his famously disciplined old-school mentality into sharp relief against the modern, affluent tennis environment. This created a new kind of controversy, one rooted not in tactics, but in philosophy. Chang has become an outspoken critic of certain aspects of the current generation of players. He has openly criticized modern professionals for being, in his view, spoiled by the sheer amount of luxury and technical support now available. He points to the constant availability of on-site gourmet catering, lavish locker rooms, and an array of sophisticated tracking technology, arguing that these comforts can inadvertently soften the competitive edge necessary for true greatness. His core advocacy revolves around the same traits that saved his career during the 1989 French Open: mental resilience, self-reliance, and adaptability. Chang champions the idea that players must be capable of enduring discomfort and solving problems on their own, on the fly, the very traits that allowed him to win while cramping severely. He believes that relying too heavily on technology and perfect conditions detracts from the individual fight. This uncompromising, old-school perspective has certainly divided opinion among today's athletes and coaches. While many respect his championship pedigree and the achievements of his players, others view his commentary as outdated, arguing that modern training methods and facilities are essential for preventing injury and maximizing physical performance in a more demanding, power-driven game. This tension between the warrior mentality that Chang embodies and the calculated, optimized approach of modern sports science has created a fascinating philosophical debate around his coaching legacy. Chang, however, remains unapologetic, positioning mental fortitude as the ultimate separator. Still, whispers about a more personal comeback refuse to die, suggesting Chang might have another chapter left in his own playing career. Despite Michael Chang having found immense fulfillment and success in his demanding coaching career, the sheer power of his competitive legend means that rumors of a more personal comeback are never far from the surface. These whispers have been consistently fueled by his ongoing engagement with the sport and his enduring, almost mythical connection to his global fan base, particularly across Asia. One persistent report hints that Chang may be considering a return to competition not on the grueling main ATP tour, but for senior exhibitions or Legends events, specifically targeting the highly popular, lucrative tennis showcases across Asia. For fans in places like Hong Kong, Taipei, and Beijing, Chang remains a monumental and inspirational figure, and his appearance back on court, even in an exhibition format, would guarantee massive crowds and huge public interest. A powerful testament to the longevity of his 1989 legacy. Other speculation suggests a focus beyond light exhibition matches. There have been detailed reports that Chang is actively considering launching a major global youth tennis initiative. This ambitious project would be deeply tied to his inspirational 1989 victory, aiming to instill his core values in the next generation. The program would emphasize the critical importance of mental toughness, self-reliance, strategy, and perseverance over raw power, effectively institutionalizing the Chang mentality and cultivating future champions who rely on their brains as much as their brawn. Crucially, these rumors gained significant momentum recently from social media. Clips have circulated showing the now over 50 Chang training with surprising intensity, hitting forehands, and moving with much of the characteristic speed and low-to-the-ground hustle that defined his prime. Every new clip inevitably sparks a frenzy online, with comments ranging from, "Is he coming back for real?" to, "He could still beat half the top 100. While a full return to the main tour is highly improbable given his age and the sheer evolution of the sport's physicality, the fact that these discussions exist underscores the profound hunger the tennis audience has for one last look at the player who shocked the world. The desire is to see the man who refused to lose one more time, but whatever form his next move takes, whether it's a ceremonial serve or a profound suggestion, his impact already echoes far beyond the scoreboard.